Welcome back everyone, picking our T20 World Cup squad today, and it could be, I'm just warning, it could be slightly controversial. So they say anyway. I've not picked somebody, stay tuned to find out who that is, that apparently must be in England's best T20 squad. I don't think so, and I'll show you why later on. So up first, we've got Jos Buttler. I don't know, why do I even need to say that? First place, Jos Buttler. Open the batting for me. He's also going to be my keeper and captain. I shouldn't even need to say that. Some people have been saying bat him at 4. Nah. It's 40 overs. The captaincy's 40 overs basically, and you don't have to do that much captaincy while you're batting. Essentially he's captain for 20 overs. That's not going to be too much of a strain. He's only been captain for a few months. He'll be okay. No need to worry about his workload right now. Second, it's either Alex Hales or Phil Salt, and to be honest, I'm going to go with Hales because I think he's a bit better in Australian conditions. That being said, Phil Salt's not been tried that much in Australian conditions, but I feel like Alex Hales' experience in the Big Bash and playing in Australia previously as an international will hopefully serve him well. So I'm putting Hales in to start with, and obviously you've got Phil Salt in the wings to step in should Hales not perform or should any of the other batsmen get injured or something. 3, I'm going to go with Dawid Malan for 3 because I feel like he's made the position his own over the last few years. He's been consistent. I wasn't a big fan of him at the start. I didn't think he was that exciting a player, but having gone and watched him live, I've changed my mind and he is actually a quality act. So Dawid Malan, you can go in at 3. He's quite a versatile player and he does like Australian pitches, so definitely him at 3. This is where we start to get a little bit more controversial. Liam Livingstone's being moved up for me to 4 because I think he's just that good. No, it's because he's played a lot in Australia. I think he's had a couple of Big Bash seasons. I feel like the pacey nature of the pitches, bit of bounce, suits his style of play. The only thing is that he'll be coming straight back from injury, so whether he can perform straight away is obviously in the balance, we'll see. But I think he's probably a good enough player to do that. So we're going Liam Livingstone at 4. I think that's a pretty decent top 4, don't you? Let me know your top 11 in the comments. Let me know what you think of my controversial decisions, etc, etc. Number 5, and this is where it gets controversial. Ben Stokes is not in my best T20 squad. He just isn't. He doesn't play enough T20 cricket. And this isn't me rubbishing England's Test captain, by the way. I think he's fantastic. But, do I think that he is going to be better in T20, particularly given how out of form he is in T20 at the moment? So if he can get into form in the next 2 games, I'll take it all back. But I don't think he will. So I'm going Harry Brook at 5 because I feel like he's certainly more in form in T20. I feel like picking based more on form is valid, particularly for a T20 World Cup. And also, let's be honest, Harry Brook's class. He will be a future England star if he carries on as he's going now. An honourable mention has to be made for Ben Duckett. It is criminal that he has not been included in this T20 World Cup squad, not even as a reserve. Now I've just pulled up his stats compared to Ben Stokes, and you can see that he's a vastly experienced T20 player. He's played a good 20 or so more matches than Stokes in T20, and in T20 internationals his record, which is a very recent record, and if that is correct, it shows that his form is fantastic. He's averaging 40, he's striking at 160. Stokes' numbers don't even come close. And the fact that you don't really need Stokes to bowl all the time means that Ben Duckett should definitely have been included and would definitely be in at least my top 8 batsmen in the English setup right now. And I think it is really a travesty that he hasn't been included. Not many batsmen are as different
in terms of the fact he scores so highly against spin and he's got so many effective options against it. And I think as a middle over specialist, he would be perfect.
Number 6, I've told you about Ben Stokes. Liam Dawson's an interesting one. I feel like he's an underrated T20 player. He can bowl on a power play, he bowls good spin, but I've already got a spinner in my mind for the lower up down in the order. I've got Liam Livingstone who can bowl a bit of spin up the order. I'm going with Moeen Ali just because I think he's a better batsman. And as I said, I've got Ali and Livingstone who can bowl me a bit of spin if necessary. Now, I've gone for Moeen Ali purely because he's a quality batsman. Liam Dawson's played a lot of T20 and I wouldn't mind seeing him given a game at some point because I think he's a good player and he's a very useful spin option. If Moeen Ali gets injured, I'm throwing Liam Dawson straight in there. But I think Moeen Ali is just overall a better player right now. Certainly throughout his career, he's proved time and time again he can smash you a 50 off like 20 balls. What more do you need? Plus he can bowl some handy off spin. That being said, I think he will struggle in Australia. I don't think his bowling style is that suited for Australian conditions, particularly the bounce. I've seen kind of the Australian players basically hanging back on pulling. So that's my only concern with Moeen Ali, is that his bowling might not be as effective in Australia. But moving on to number 7, this is probably the toughest decision I've had to make because Chris Woakes might be my all-time favourite English cricketer, or certainly at the moment. But his death bowling skills are not really up to international standard. I'm sure they'd be fine against me, but against people like Warner and Brathwaite and all that, I don't think they're going to cut it. And death bowling's what we've lost the last 2 World Cups on, essentially. Quote from Nasser Hussain, by the way. So I'm going to go with Sam Curran because he adds batting depth. I think Chris Woakes is a slightly better batsman, but I've gone with Sam Curran because, to be honest, a bit of a jack of all trades. He can bowl pretty much anywhere in the over selection. I wouldn't pick him as my first choice death bowler, but I don't know who else you've got. Tamal Mills didn't bowl that well at the death when he was playing, and I think he's still injured. So I'm not picking him. So I've picked Sam Curran to maybe give me one over at the death, maybe 2, and now I've got at 8. I've got Chris Jordan, who will give me 2 overs at the death. And if he can execute his skills, he's a good Yorker bowler, he can bowl good slow balls. If he can execute his skills at the death, England should look a lot healthier in the bowling department. I feel like he's the only death bowler that automatically gets in the team. Here we've got the rest of the death bowler. Richard Gleeson, yes, he could bowl at the death, but I don't think that he's quite got the enough experience in internationals anyway. He's had a fantastic season in county cricket, but I don't think he's just not quite international material just yet. So 9th place, I'm going to go with Rashid. You've got to have a leg spinner in there somewhere. Liam Livingstone doesn't quite count as my first choice leg spinner, but Adil Rashid doesn't really need much to say, does it? He's been quality over the last few years. Bit expensive of late, but England's first choice leg spinner. England's best leg spinner, certainly in my lifetime. 10th. So we're really getting into the specialist bowlers now. And we're going to go with Mark Wood, simply because he has been electric since he came back. And to be honest, I don't think I've seen anyone bowl as quickly as he has. I think he touched 97 mile an hour or 157 kilometres for you heathens, but that is serious pace, and I wouldn't really fancy that personally. First T20 against Australia in the bilateral series, picked up 3 key wickets and basically won England the game when it looked like Australia were going to cruise it. So Mark Wood definitely has to go on my team. Only thing you've got to watch out for is his workload. You can't afford to have a prized asset like him being injured, particularly as you've got no other blistering quicks. Ollie Stone doesn't quite have that penetrating edge, although he could do. He's also kind of coming back from injury still. Jofra Archer's still injured. And I don't know who else is quick. Chris Jordan's probably next quickest, who, don't get me wrong, sharp. Wouldn't fancy it personally, but he just doesn't have that express, I'm going to trouble every batsman in the world no matter who they are, pace. 11. So there's quite a few contenders for this. Obviously Gleeson, Topley, Willie and Tamal Mills. Now, Tamal Mills, very tempting, very, very tempting with his death bowling skills. But he didn't bowl that well in the last World Cup. And I think he's been injured in between. If he could execute his death skills properly every time, 100% he'd be in there. And I might have moved around some of the other players. But he didn't bowl that well at the death, I felt. And he was quite expensive when he didn't bowl at the death. So, no Tamal Mills. Gleeson I've touched on, I don't think he's got enough international experience. Didn't deal well enough with the pressure. Hasn't had that consistency. In fairness, he's not been selected that much, but same thing applies. Not quite that execution of the skills properly. David Willey, same. He's only 8 mile an hour as well. I mean, I could probably hit that. I probably couldn't, but the point still stands. I don't think he's quite as dangerous as Reece Topley. You've got Sam Curran as well, left armour. So you've got a good balance, 2 left armours, a few right armours. But Reece Topley's also tall, and he's got a few variations. He nearly always swings it, and he's a good fielder as well. He's been very impressive this year, very, very impressive. Got some of the best players in the world out, albeit in ODIs. But I feel like his white ball form is 100% deserved this spot at number 11. So, we've got Buttler and Hales opening. Milan at 3, Livingston 4, Brook 5, Ali 6, Curran 7, Jordan 8, Rashid 9, Mark Wood 10, and Reece Topley 11. Let me know who you'd put in your 11. Let me know what you think was wrong with my 11. We'll be back for a fantasy team or something in a bit. Remember to like and subscribe, it helps me out. Helps you out as well. Thanks for watching. See you later.